Erotic store employees, what are some interesting stories/excuses people have given when buying toys/equipment? NSFW. I used to work at an adult novelty store. We sold all sorts of things from SFW stuff like jewelry and masks to NSFW stuff like 2-foot-long double-sided dongs. Most folks didn't find the need to make an excuse for what they were buying. There were 3 types of customers. We would have the regulars, usually men in their 60s or older who would come in for a few DVDs and some enhancement pills. They don't talk much. In and out. We would get the college kids in for a laugh. They'd wander around the store for an hour touching everything and usually leave without buying anything. If they did buy, it was always a gag gift. Then there were the professionals. Either performing drag queens, strippers or professional dominatrixes. They were my favorites. They were kind, polite, and always knew exactly what they wanted. I worked at a hospital, but the story is NSFW and he was using a sex toy. As an X-ray tech, I saw several weird X-rays. One in particular was an action figure inside a man's rectum. As I handed him the X-rays, he says, "Well, I'm sure you saw the X-rays and have questions." Well, I was playing with my daughter in the bathroom and slipped. And I fell right on the dang thing. I remained silent, but my first thought was "why are you playing with your daughter naked, Customer here. Had an awkward conversation with a poor gal behind the counter. I was looking for a good male massager, but wanted to know if she had any good recommendations. I was previously ripped off through some recommendations online that turned out to be cheap Chinese pieces of junk. The product page is artificially bolstered by botnets and fake reviews. The most pleasure the device gave me was the comedy gold of its English instruction booklet. So I wanted a human's perspective. Somebody who actually handles these kinds of things on a daily. Something that won't die after a month. I trust your judgment over internet reviews. Tried a couple recommended products online, and got burned both times. Oh wow. She reels in surprise. I'm sorry to hear that. Did you have to see a doctor? If there's one thing I love about sex shop workers, they have a fantastic way to not make me feel like the most awkward person in the room. Bless her heart. I was tempted to leave them a 5-star Google Guides review using my real email address, to really emphasize how grateful I was. One of my girlfriend's first days working at one of these stores, she had a woman come in wearing a full kneecap followed by a sheepish-looking husband. The woman boldly stated in a thick local accent, "I need a vibrator because she points at her husband, doesn't satisfy me anymore." The husband shrugs in a "that's about right I suppose" kind of way. She says there were a few women who came in who wore the full head-to-toe Islamic clothing and usually wanted good push-up bras etc. to try to give themselves more shape in them. Not an employee but my own experience. The first time I went to a sex shop, I decided to buy a small set of beads and some magazines. This was around 2010, so I had internet, just wanted something to aim at. I get to the counter and go to grab my wallet. Only it isn't there, so I tell the lady I will be right back, must have left it in the car. I get to my car and there on my seat is my wallet. And my keys. I've locked my keys and my wallet in my car outside a sex shop. I go back in. Explain what has happened. I ask if she has any wire hangers or anything I can use to break into my car. Only thing she has is a fly swatter, which she won't give me because it is her only one. She calls her boss to see if it is okay for me to take it. Her boss just laughs and says it is okay, as long as I replace it. I spend the next 2 hours trying to break into the car while I get to see the rainbow of people, some I knew, go into the shop. I did eventually unlock my car, pay for my items, and drive to the dollar store a block away and bought the counter lady a 3-pack of swatters. This title is ambiguous and makes me envision an employee at Best Buy who just sexualizes all the electronics. I work in a sex store. I have for 6 years now. This just happened. Maybe 3 to 5 months ago. A middle-aged woman. Blonde. Very attractive. Huge breasts. Asks me to help her try on some lingerie. Not that out of the ordinary. Sometimes corsets are hard to get on. Lots of lace work on some of them. But no. It was just a nightie type thing. Sheer black, and she just wanted to make sure it would fit her chest because of her aforementioned large breasts. We're not in a dressing room. We're at the counter. She lifts her top, bra included, and asks me to get her tits into the bust of the nightie. I obliged. She bought it and left me a $1 tip and said something to the effect of overworked, underappreciated, and left. I have many stories, but this is the most recent and most awesome that was completely out of nowhere. You get everything from embarrassed to disturbing. To most people who couldn't handle a job like this, most daily encounters would probably seem ridiculous. Honestly, the worst thing for me was having to measure a 90-year-old woman who had a brain aneurysm with a dead left side of her body who needed help trying on lingerie. I spent an hour in the dressing room with this woman, and as I tried to get her out of very tight lingerie, I was basically breathing in her skin dust. Worst day on the job ever. Obligatory not an employee. My first time in a sex shop just after turning 18. I panicked and told the employee who had just asked if I needed help that I was just curious, and turned around and left. I remember back in the early days of the web, before 2005. Not sure when exactly, there was a blog written by a female employee of an adult video store. She had at least 50 entries and they were all riveting. Regular customers who would rent 2 videos and return them 75 minutes later. Like clockwork. Weirdos and crazies and all sorts of great stories. Wait. Do you mean erotic employees of regular stores? Or regular employees of erotic stores? Not an employee, but every time my boyfriend and I go to the erotic store he'll try to embarrass me. When we find new thing we want to try, he always asks the employees the most specific questions you can imagine. Most of the time I'm red like a tomato because of this. I know it's not the answer op asked for, but I thought it is a funny story to tell. Not a sex store employee, but I've worked at an adult family home. And one time a client had restraints to prevent self-harm in their care plan. My boss went to a sex shop, because they've got restraints that are meant to still be comfortable and avoid any kind of damage. The cashier did not believe them, but the restraints worked so well they went and bought a second set. If you ever have the chance to visit Akihabara in Tokyo, just go. There are like 3 or 4 sex shops there with amazing stuff. You can get a Deep Throat Edition 1-use fleshlight for just $6, and it is an amazing experience. A Canadian guy in my hostel checked out the waters for us and then told us how amazing it felt. So I got one. This year I flew to Japan again and my time in Tokyo was well spent. I bought like 1 at the beginning of the journey and 2 when I returned. 1 for my cousin as a gift. When I came home to give it to him I realized how much more relaxed and open the sex shop experience made me. Or it was just the fact that it felt so ducking amazing that I wanted every guy to experience it. I just realized you can buy them on Amazon. Brand is called Tenga. Be sure to at least check out the red one, with vacuum, and to get the medium or US size. Japanese standard size is a bit small. I can answer this one. I once had a couple in the 60s come in to find something to help spice up their sex life. They'd been married since they were 18 and she had never had an orgasm. I went through some books and diagrams we had at the store and neither of them knew where the clit or spit are located. Got them sorted and they got a few toys. Next week they come in with a thank you card because she had her first orgasm. I was so proud. I once had a lady come into the shop looking for a strap-on. She made sure to tell me she wasn't really into this kind of stuff, but was appeasing her new girlfriend. I guess she felt the need to explain since we were co-workers at a call center together 6 months beforehand. I had a guy come in and bought the largest toys we had. Dick Rambone and the Fist, both basically 14 plus and girthy. Well, 2 days later he came back trying to return them saying they were defective. When I asked him how so, he proceeded to tell me that they ripped him open. I asked him what kind of lubes he used and he replied with KY. Thinking to myself, there's your problem, guy. When I made a suggestion to use a different kind of lube he got offended and walked out of the store, but not before pulling the toys out of the bag and putting them on the counter. We have a nice selection of XXL butt plugs. And they are not inexpensive, start around $90. People almost always start telling me about how it's gonna be such a good joke for their buddy. Isn't this a great gag gift? Gag gift, GAGGIFT. If I never hear those words again, it'll be too soon. I don't care why you're buying it. It's okay to put it in your butt. That's what it was designed and produced for. I will genuinely forget you were there within 5 minutes if we just have a standard transaction with no story. But when you try to tell me you're dropping $175 on a gag gift for your buddy who just got divorced, I'll laugh and play along. He's gonna crack up. I love it, but it just makes me kind of sad. Live your life. Use lube. Please don't feel ashamed in my store. My entire professional life is centered around you having a safe space to buy and use these products. Just do your thing. Jerry. Please pay the machine and use your manners.